Hello, hello. I'm Megan and I'm so glad you're here. I have a degree in business, but my heart has always been in the home. After many years of working and waiting, I am now living the life I always dreamed of. I hope through this channel you find encouragement to show up in faithfulness each morning and to lay your head down at night knowing the efforts you made were worth something. So grab a cup of coffee if that's your thing and let's do some life together. Well, hello friends. Today I'm going to be showing you a spring morning routine for our home on any given day of the week. So first I start out by making our bed. That's the very first thing that I do in the morning. My husband often jokes that sometimes I am known to make the bed while he's still in it if he doesn't get up fast enough. And maybe that's true, but we got things to do. So I always want to get the bed made first so that at least that feels tidy and put together. And then we do have a lot of laundry to do today, so I'm going to go ahead and organize some of the stuff that's kind of been tossed over the foot of our bed over the last few days so that it can be hung up later on. I try to do at least one load of laundry each day. But this particular week I had gotten a little bit behind. We're out of town for one night and 2 days, and so things just got thrown off a little bit. Also, our washing machine is on the opposite side of the wall from our youngest daughter, who's 10 months now, Annie, and so I try not to run it while she is there's my husband, but I try not to run it while she is sleeping because it does shake some, so never want to interfere with baby sleeping. If you know, you know. So I went ahead and loaded it and then waited until later to start the actual washing. So once I've kind of accomplished the chores that are quick and easy and, in my opinion, necessary in our room, I work my way to the bathroom, and that's where I brush my teeth and put on deodorant, and then I go ahead and touch up my hair. I typically take my shower the afternoon prior, and then after the girls wake up from their nap time in the afternoon, while I'm kind of cooking dinner and doing chores and whatnot, I'll go ahead and blow dry and curl my hair for supper the night before. So then I sleep on it and really just have to do some touch-ups the following morning. It really simplifies my morning routine and makes it a lot quicker, a lot smoother. Gives me time to focus on kind of getting the house in order for the day and getting my girls up and going as well. At some point during this curling process, my husband came in and kissed me bye, and apparently the camera totally missed that. So he usually leaves around 7 o'clock. He has to be at work at 7:30, so typically he leaves by 7. Next up, I make my way into the kitchen where I try to get my coffee ready, and I go ahead and often try to go ahead and prepare a bottle for Annie and Rosie's juice cup for her morning juice. So all of that is ready when they wake up. Now Rosie is awake. She is our 2-year-old, and she's not completely a morning person, so there are just some things that I don't show for a variety of reasons, but Some people just don't like having a camera in their face first thing in the morning, and I think that's completely understandable and okay. So I'm just waking up the house a little bit. Most of the people in our house are awake at this point. Annabelle is still sleeping. Rosemary has gotten dressed. And sometimes we do screen time in the morning, sometimes we don't. It really just depends on kind of how she's feeling, how she's doing. We don't have a ton of time before we get her in the car to go to school anyways. So on this particular morning, she did want to watch TV. And I said that was fine. She already had her clothes on, and this gave me a chance to fix her hair. You ready for school?
No.
Oh, you're just going to stay here? You going to go play on the playground? Okay.
This is a good a day as any to start the rebuilding of life.
So now Rosie has been dropped off and Annabelle is awake. My grandmother is very sweet and comes and sits with Annie while I take Rosie to school in the mornings. It's less than a 10-minute drive from our house, so it doesn't take me long to go and come back. It's just really nice to let Annie sleep in a little bit later if that's what she's wanting to do that day, and especially whenever the weather was so cold. It was very, very nice to not have to get her out in it for such a short drive. So after I drop Rosie off at school, sometimes my granny will hang out with us for a little bit. Sometimes she has errands to run, so she leaves pretty soon. But either way, I try to spend a couple of minutes intentionally playing with Annie. It's very easy. She's a very chill and content baby, and she always has been. So it's very easy for me to forget that I need to sit down and interact with her. It's easy for me to get caught up in household chores and tasks and to-dos and everything that I have going on in my life and forget that I am so much of her life and that my relationship with her is what's most important, not all of these other things I'm thinking about. On most mornings, I just grab Pop-Tarts at some point around 9 or 9:30, but on the day this is filmed, we were actually out of Pop-Tarts, so I cooked some eggs and made some quick just add milk muffins, and then I took the chance while those were cooking to clean up the kitchen a bit. The night before we had eaten dinner and then went outside with the girls. The weather was beautiful, so we just went outside and played and came in, put them to bed, and then I actually cut my husband's hair. And so it was just a full night, and the kitchen didn't get quite as much attention as it usually does before we go to bed. Sometimes around 9:30 or so, Annie will be ready to go down for her morning nap. She's not super consistent with the time, but typically it's around 2 to 3 hours after she wakes up in the morning. She's ready for her morning nap. So I thought maybe that was the case right here. However, in her room, she was jabbering and playing and squealing and doing all kinds of things throughout this entire cleaning process. But that's okay. She was content, and it allowed me to pick up the kitchen a little bit and do some chores that otherwise she would have very much wanted to help with. And while I oftentimes and most often welcome the help from her and her sister, it's just some things, just go faster whenever you can do it by yourself.
This morning has so clear a light as any to see the horizon and the far. Excuses were 2 for a penny, but they've all gone out the window of this car. And when I feel the wind on my
I realize that to some, this house and this life, these daily routines and activities may seem very mundane. To me, sometimes they do as well. But I often have to remind myself that these are the days I've always hoped and prayed for. This is the dream that I've always wanted to be living, and I'm just so thankful to be in this season that we're in. It's not always easy, especially with two littles as close in age as what they are, and just the runaround that requires. And it's not easy work being a homemaker, but it is absolutely what my heart has always longed for. And I just truly feel like these are the good old days.
time to borrow today. Well, something's gotta give today. It's a good day to tomorrow. There's no time to borrow today. Well, something's gotta give today. It's a good day today and not tomorrow. There's no time to borrow today.
I realized that Annabelle was not going to take a nap, and that's perfectly all right. She can come along with me as I get things done that need to be done. So typically at some point later in the morning, oftentimes she is napping by now, but today she was not. So at this point of the morning, I go out to the garden. We have a small vegetable garden that this is our first year attempting to grow anything, and we have a few things coming up, but it's been slightly neglected with, like I said, us being out of town some, and also just out of fear that I would pull something thinking that it was a weed and it actually ended up being a plant. So I've kind of been holding off a little bit in hopes to not ruin anything that could be trying to produce. Also, we're doing the no-dig garden method, which I read a good bit about before we attempted it, but something that I did not realize was that it really makes, maybe this is just in our situation, but what I have found is it really makes for tough soil. So between the cardboard that you put down, like, the season before in order to get the grass killed off, and then the cardboard decomposing, and then adding compost to that with, wood chips and mulch and garden soil and all of that, it's not as fluffy of soil as if you had tilled, obviously. So this is what I have been referring to as massaging the soil. That's kind of what I just try to do every couple of days, a few times a week, is just work the soil a little bit so that it's not quite as tough around those small plants that are starting to sprout up, because we did start most of our crops from seed. So after massaging the soil a little bit, I pull some weeds and then move Annie out of the garden itself so that I can water the entire garden. this point, we only have about an hour left before going to pick up Rosie. So this is the time where I usually make phone calls, schedule appointments, work on video editing, any kind of administrative household things that need to be done, all the while simultaneously continuing laundry, changing dirty diapers, putting the baby to bed. So finally she had went to sleep, and I had like 4 missed calls from all of my family trying to get in touch with me. Oh, you gotta love them. But I'm so glad that you guys came along for this little morning routine of mine. If you did enjoy this content, I hope you will subscribe and like and just continue coming back. I hope to see you guys again soon. Bye.